Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel Science with Akshma. In today's video, I will explain the life process chapter. We will continue the same chapter, and in today's video, we will see how the living organism breathe and obtain energy. So let's get started. Now let's see respiration. What is respiration? So respiration is the process through which food burnt or broken down into simpler particles when it reacts with oxygen, and during this process large amount of heat is released, and the energy released during this process is stored in the form of ATP molecule. So in our body ATP molecules are known as the energy currency. And so let's see respiration definition. So respiration is the process by which food is broken down in the cell with the help of oxygen to release energy. Means it broken down in the cell. This indicates that respiration is a cellular process, and in this process large amount of energy is released, and this energy is used to synthesize the ATP molecule, because ATP molecules, in the form of ATP molecules, energy is stored, and ATP molecules are also known as the energy currency. When ATP molecule react with inorganic phosphate, then it forms the ATP molecule, and this reaction is endothermic reaction. Why? Because during this reaction energy is required, and whenever our body required energy, then breakdown of these ATP molecules takes place. So during the breakage of one terminal phosphate linkage, 31 kilojoule per mole energy is released. As our body we use energy in the form of mechanical energy, light energy, electric energy. For that we use the battery. Similarly, for the other life processes, energy can be used from the ATP molecule. So when our body require energy, we have to spend the ATP molecule. Our body required to spend the ATP molecule. So for various body activities, ATP molecules are used as the energy currency. Now we will see the type of respiration. There are two main type of respiration. First is aerobic respiration, another is anaerobic respiration. Aerobic means the process which takes place in the presence of oxygen, and aerobic means the process which takes place in the absence of oxygen. Now we will learn about the aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration in detail. Firstly, we will understand this flow chart. So during in the during the process of nutrition, we intake the food, and that food gets break down and form the glucose molecule. Okay, now this glucose molecule, this is a 6 carbon molecule, then breakdown of this glucose molecule takes place in the cytoplasm and form another compound, that is pyruvate, and pyruvate is a 3 carbon molecule, and during this process also energy release. Now there are two ways of breakdown of pyruvate molecule, one in the presence of oxygen, another in the absence of oxygen. So when the breakdown of pyruvate molecule take place in the presence of oxygen, then the end products will be carbon dioxide, water and energy, and this process takes place in mitochondria. So we can say that aerobic respiration takes place in mitochondria, and what will be the product of aerobic respiration? Carbon dioxide, water and energy. Now when the breakdown of pyruvate molecule takes place in the absence of oxygen in yeast is a fungi, so in in the absence of oxygen, it gets break down, pyruvate molecule gets break down into ethanol, carbon dioxide gas and energy. So you will get the ethanol as the product in absence of oxygen in our muscle cells. Now when the breakdown of pyruvate molecule takes place in our muscle cells in the absence of oxygen, then product will be the lactic acid, and in this process also energy release. Now you should know uh, the energy produced in aerobic respiration will be always more compared to the energy released during the anaerobic respiration. Now we will see in detail. So in aerobic respiration, glucose is converted into pyruvate in the cytoplasm. This process takes place in the cytoplasm of the cell, and then in the presence of oxygen, pyruvate again converted into, you can see, carbon dioxide, water and energy. And all this process takes place in mitochondria. So where is the aerobic respiration takes place? It takes place inside the mitochondria. And what will be the product? Carbon dioxide, water and energy. Now, in anaerobic respiration, we have seen two type, two type. One, it can take place in our muscle cells. Another, it can take place in fungi. So, aerobic respiration, one thing is that it takes place in the absence of oxygen, and during this process, less amount of energy is produced. And the in aerobic respiration, if you will see overall, so then end product can be lactic acid, ethanol, carbon dioxide, and energy. Now, where this anaerobic respiration takes place, it can take place in muscle cells and in yeast. So during anaerobic respiration in our muscle cells, glucose first convert to the pyruvate, and then again in the same conditions, pyruvate convert into lactic acid and energy. Sometimes we do heavy exercise. So during heavy exercise, our body can't get the proper supply of oxygen. So in that less supply of oxygen in our muscle cells, lactic acid accumulate, and because of the accumulation of lactic acid, our muscles started to pain. So in our muscles, and what will be the product? Product will be the lactic acid and energy. Now, in yeast, during anaerobic respiration in yeast, glucose first convert to pyruvate, then pyruvate convert into ethanol, carbon dioxide and energy. And this process which takes the anaerobic respiration which takes place in yeast, that process is known as fermentation. Now let's see the difference between aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. As first you know, aerobic respiration takes place in the presence of oxygen. Anaerobic respiration takes place in the absence of oxygen. N means absent. Second, aerobic respiration. What is the site of aerobic respiration? Aerobic respiration takes place in mitochondria, while anaerobic respiration occurs in cytoplasm. Now, what uh, what are the end product of aerobic respiration? Carbon dioxide and water. And in anaerobic respiration, end product can be alcohol in the case of fungi, and in our muscle cells, end product is lactic acid. In aerobic respiration, more amount of energy is released, and in anaerobic respiration, less amount of energy is released. Now, we'll see the respiration in plants. As already you know, in plants, respiration occurs through stomata, and through stomata, gaseous exchange takes place. So, as you know, in leaves, there is large intercellular space. So, with the help of that intercellular space, exchange of gases takes place through the process of diffusion. Now, during daytime, uh, a living organism exhale the carbon dioxide gas. That carbon dioxide gas is used by the plants during the process of photosynthesis. So carbon dioxide is not released in large amount during the daytime, but oxygen is released. But at night, photosynthesis can't take place, because for photosynthesis sunlight is necessary. So during night time, only carbon dioxide is released, but the amount of oxygen release is very less. So we should not go under any tree during the night time, because amount of carbon dioxide release is more. Now, respiration in aquatic animals. Aquatic animals are the animals which live inside the water. So, how they respire? For that, they use another respiratory organ, and they use the dissolved oxygen in the water. So, the amount of dissolved oxygen is low compared to the amount oxygen in air. So the rate of breathing in aquatic animal is actually much faster than that in terrestrial organism. Now you have seen that in aquatic animals like fishes and prawn, breathing process takes place with the help of some special organ. In fishes, that breathing organs are known as gills, and these gills are the projections of the skin that help. With the help of the gills, fishes use the dissolved oxygen in water. You can see water flow in the flow in through water, and there are the gills, fish gills. These are the organs through which gaseous exchange takes place in the aquatic organism. Now we'll see the respiration in human. So the organ, now we will see the what are the main organ involved in the respiratory system. So the main organ involved in the respiratory system are the nostril, nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchiole, lungs, and diaphragm. In the same manner only you have to learn, and in the same manner you have to explain about these main organs. First is nostril. What are the nostril? Nostril are the actually these pores of our nose are known as nostril. So there are two nostril which converge, and then it converges and form a nasal passage. In nostrils, some you will see some smooth, fine hairs will be there, and some mucus is also there. Now, what is the function of that mucus and hair? It have these hairs and mucus help in filtering the dust particle, because during inhalation we inhale some dust particle also. So removal of that dust particle takes place by the help of hair and mucus. And further, air is also warm up with the help of here, okay, and then air enter through the nasal passage. Then another organ of this is pharynx. Pharynx is a tube-like structure which continue after the nasal passage. After pharynx there is a larynx. Larynx is also known as voice box, and this part come after the pharynx. Now trachea. Trachea is composed of rings of cartilage, some ring-like structure, will be there, and this is cartilaginous in nature. So cartilaginous ring prevent the collapse of trachea in the absence of air. If there is no air, then in that case it prevent the collapse of trachea. Now bronchi. Uh, in lungs there are bronchi. So bronchi come out from the trachea with one bronchus going to each lung. There is a pair of lungs, so one one bronchi or bifurcate into two bronchus going to each lung. Now further bronchi further breakdown, further bifurcate and subdivided into bronchioles. So a bronchus then divide into branches and sub branches inside the lungs. So bronchioles are the sub branches of the bronchi. Now bronchiole also further divided into branches, that is known as alveoli, and alveoli are the actual site of gaseous exchange. So what are alveoli? This is important. They can ask what is the function of alveoli and what do you mean by alveoli? In which system? In which system this alveoli is found? So alveoli, these are the air sac at the end of bronchiole, and the alveolus is the composed of very thin membrane, and it is the place where blood capillaries open. And in the alveoli, blood capillaries open because blood can carry the oxygen and carbon dioxide gas. So blood capillaries bring the oxygen and take away the carbon dioxide gas in the alveoli. So this is the alveolus where the oxygen mix with the blood and carbon dioxide exit from the blood. So actually this is the site of gaseous exchange. So the exchange of gases in alveoli takes place due to the pressure differential, because during this process pressure difference occur. Because of that pressure difference, exchange of gases takes place. You can see in this image respiratory system there are two like nasal cavity, first, then nasal passage, then pharynx. First is pharynx, then Below the pharynx is larynx. Then you can see the ring-like structure. This ring-like structure is known as trachea. This ring-like structure. This ring-like structure is known as trachea, and this structure. These are the ribs. These are the rings of cartilage. Actually, these are the ribs. Now there is like lungs, and this is diaphragm. Diaphragm. This diaphragm during inhalation and exhalation contract and relax. Now, uh, like bronchi further divided into sub many branches, that is known as bronchiole. Then bronchiole also further divided into alveoli. So alveoli are the balloon-like structure. Here the blood capillaries come and exchange the gases in the alveoli. Next, now let's understand the passage of air through the respiratory system in the human being. Through this image, you can imagine. Now, a person is inhaling the air through the nasal cavity, and then to pharynx, then larynx, then cartilage are there. This is known as trachea. Then there are lungs, left and right lungs. Then bronchi further divided into bronchiole, and bronchiole further divided into alveoli. And in alveoli there is direct contact. They are in direct contact with the blood capillaries where the exchange of gases takes place. So you have to learn this flowchart. Firstly, air entered to our nostril, then to nasal passage, then to nasal cavity, then first pharynx, then larynx, then trachea. Now, from trachea, bronchi are originated, and bronchi further subdivided into bronchioles, and bronchiole then divided to form balloon-like structure that is known as alveoli, and alveoli are in direct contact with the blood capillaries through which exchange of gases takes place. Which gases? Oxygen and carbon dioxide gas. Now, we will see the mechanism of the breathing. What is the mechanism of breathing? During breathing, when we inhale the oxygen, that process is known as inhalation. When we expel the carbon dioxide gas, that is known as exhalation. So what takes place when we breathe in? When we breathe in, you can imagine this diagram. When we breathe in, mean our muscles of diaphragm, here you can see diaphragm contract during the inhalation, and ribs, and it move downward, means it become flat. By doing this, this cavity, this portion increases, this volume increases, so chest cavity expand and enter into the lungs. Why it expands? So that more amount of oxygen, more amount of air can enter in the lungs. Now, during the process of exhalation, when we exhale, that time diaphragm relax, and it diaphragm move upward. Okay, so when we breathe out air, the muscles of the diaphragm relax and move upward, and during this process you can see this chest cavity contract and air goes out of the lungs. So what is the difference between inhalation and exhalation? So during inhalation, thoracic cavity expand. Thoracic cavity means chest cavity. This cavity increase because our body requires more amount of oxygen. That's why this cavity increases. And during exhalation, thoracic cavity contract so that more pressure can be created and air can go out. During inhalation, ribs lift up. If you will see now, ribs lift up, and during exhalation, ribs move downward. During inhalation, diaphragm become flat in shape. You can see. During inhalation, diaphragm flat in shape, and during exhalation, diaphragm become dome shape. You can imagine here. Diaphragm become dome shape. And during inhalation, volume of lungs increase and air enter the lung. Here you can see. Here the volume of lungs increases and air enter the lungs. You can see here. Volume of the lungs increases. And during exhalation, volume of the lungs decreases and air goes out from the lungs. I hope now you have better understanding about the respiration. If in case you have any doubt or question, you can ask in the comment section. And if you find this video is helpful for you, so then please like, share and subscribe.